Ethan Cole never liked crowds, so he chose Monday mornings for his gallery visits. Coastal town of Westmere was quiet that time of week, and the old brick building that held the Bayview Art Gallery felt like a sanctuary. Dust motes floated in the morning light as he stepped inside, his boots echoing against the hardwood floor. He nodded politely to the clerk behind the front desk but didn't speak. He rarely did. Ethan was a restorer by trade, a man who breathed life back into forgotten paintings. He appreciated silence. He appreciated stillness. He appreciated color, shadow, and stories hidden in brushstrokes. But that morning, he was not prepared for what he found. It happened almost by accident. He turned down a narrow hallway where the gallery stored less popular works, pieces without placards or fanfare. The lighting was dimmer here. Dust lined the frames. He ran a finger along one, absently noting the age of the varnish, when something caught the corner of his eye, a painting slightly off-kilter, half covered by another canvas leaning against the wall. He moved the obstruction aside, revealing a medium-sized oil painting in a thin, worn wooden frame. His breath hitched. The woman in the painting stared straight ahead, her eyes wide, storm-gray and deep. Her face was delicate, almost too perfect, with soft waves of dark hair cascading over her shoulders. She looked at him as if she knew him, as if she'd always known him. But he didn't know her. At least, he didn't think he did. He leaned in. The detail was astonishing. Her skin had a porcelain smoothness, the light dancing across her cheekbones in a way that felt almost real. Her lips, parted ever so slightly, seemed about to speak. But it was her eyes, something in them gripped him. He couldn't pull away. No name. No signature. No date. It was as if she had simply appeared. He checked the back of the canvas. Nothing. No markings, no stamps, not even a gallery note. It was like the painting didn't exist. But he felt that it mattered. He stood there for a long time, longer than he meant to. Minutes. Maybe longer. The world around him seemed to blur until it was just her and him. He could hear the soft sound of waves from the coast through a nearby open window, the seagulls crying faintly in the distance. Till he didn't move. "Sir!" Clerk's voice snapped the spell. Then blinked, disoriented. He straightened up, rubbing the back of his neck awkwardly. "This painting," he said. "Where did it come from?" Clerk, a young woman with bright hair and tired eyes, stepped over. She frowned. "That one? I don't think it's part of the regular exhibit. We sometimes store pieces for private donors or trade from local estates. Could be one of those. There's no tag. No inventory record. I can check," but she glanced at the canvas, her expression softening. "She's beautiful." Ethan nodded slowly. "Yeah, she is. Want me to see if it's for sale?" He hesitated. That wasn't what he'd meant. But now that she said it, "Yes, please." She disappeared into the back office, and Ethan turned back to the painting. He studied the technique. The brushwork was confident, emotive. Whoever had painted this knew exactly what they were doing. But it wasn't just technical. It had feeling. It had longing. It had soul. He found himself whispering, "Who are you?" Her expression didn't change, but it felt like her eyes saw him. And for a moment, he felt like someone was standing just behind him, not malicious, not threatening, just there. When the clerk returned, she looked puzzled. "It's not listed." Called our curator. He says it's been in that room for years. Might have come in during a donation batch. No record, no owner. Technically, it's not even in our system. So it's not for sale because we don't own it. But no one's claimed it either. Ethan swallowed hard. "Would you mind if I borrowed it? I restore paintings. I could clean it up. Catalog it properly." She gave him a curious look. "You sure you just want to clean it?" He didn't answer. She smiled faintly. All right. But if a mystery billionaire shows up demanding it back, I'm sending them your way. He wrapped the painting carefully in an old linen cloth the gallery kept for transporting fragile works. As he walked it back to his truck, he felt strange. His hands were steady, but something inside him wasn't. That night, he placed the painting on his easel under the soft lamplight of his studio. His home overlooked the sea, waves crashing gently against the cliffs below. The wind rattled the windows slightly, and the fire crackled behind him. He sat in front of her. Just sat. He had restored over 200 works in his life. He had seen masters and amateurs, brilliance and failure. But never had he felt this connection. Like the woman knew him. Like she was trying to tell him something. He lifted a soft brush, hesitating at the edge of the canvas. Then he stopped. No, not yet. He needed to know more. Over the next few days, he became consumed. He combed through archives, online databases, art auctions, even facial recognition tools. Nothing. Painting had no match. No duplicates. No references. He called a few fellow restorers. Showed them photos. One of them said the style reminded them of a lost artist named Vincent Hale, a man who vanished over a decade ago without a trace. But Hale had only done landscapes. Finn tried to move on. But she wouldn't let him. He found himself talking to the painting late at night, asking questions. Her expression never changed, but somehow she always felt closer. Sometimes he'd catch her out of the corner of his eye like she'd moved just a little. He wasn't afraid. Just haunted. Not by a ghost, but by a presence. One night, half asleep, he reached for his grandfather's old sketchbook. It had been years since he opened it. His grandfather, Martin Cole, had been a painter too. Inclusive. Brilliant. And then suddenly gone. Disappeared without goodbye. Flipping through the pages, Ethan froze. On one page, faded but clear, was the same symbol he had seen faintly hidden under the painting's surface. A small, double-ringed circle with a line through it. Martin's signature symbol. His hands trembled. Was it possible? Did his grandfather paint her? And if so, who was she? And why, after all these years, was she back? He leaned back in his chair, heart pounding, staring at her face again. The wind howled louder through the chimney, as if answering his thoughts. He whispered once more, barely audible, "Who are you?" And this time, in the stillness, he could almost hear her whisper back. Ethan couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the soft creak of the old house around him like whispers in the dark. Sighed, the waves crashed in steady rhythm, but they brought no peace. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. Not just in the painting now, in his mind. Vivid, real. He got up before dawn and went straight to the studio. The painting sat on the easel, her gray eyes locked onto him as if she had been waiting all night. He set down a fresh cup of coffee and began carefully examining the surface again. Something tugged at his mind, a feeling he couldn't shake. He remembered that odd shimmer he saw under the brushstrokes just near the corner of the frame. He reached for a soft bristled scalpel and began gently lifting a small layer of varnish and grime from the edge. That's when he saw it again. Faint, almost invisible beneath the layers, was a delicate symbol, two thin circles, one inside the other, bisected by a single diagonal line. The same one from his grandfather's sketchbook. His chest tightened. Couldn't be coincidence. Martin Cole had disappeared 15 years ago. One day he was painting in his studio, the next he was gone. No note. No body. Just silence. Ethan had been 20 at the time, young, angry, and confused. He had spent years trying to understand what happened. Eventually, the family stopped talking about it. But now this. Ethan rushed to the bookshelf and grabbed the old sketchbook again. Pages smelled of dust and oil paint. He flipped quickly to the back, where Martin used to doodle ideas and signs. There it was, the exact same symbol repeated several times near a series of sketches labeled Muse. One of them was a woman's silhouette loosely drawn. He stared. The shape of her face, the way the hair curled near her shoulders. Could it be her? He turned to the page's edge where a scrawled note read, "She appears again and again. In dreams. In light. I paint her, but I never truly capture her. Who is she? Why do I see her face in everything I make?" Ethan sat back, stunned. He looked at the painting again. It was too much to ignore now. His grandfather had seen her, painted her. And now, somehow, Ethan had found her, years later, in an art gallery that had no idea where the piece even came from. He returned to the Bayview Art Gallery that afternoon. The air inside was cooler than usual, the place mostly empty. The same young clerk was behind the desk. "Is the curator in today?" Ethan asked. She nodded. "Mr. Halden's upstairs. Want me to call him down?" "Please." A few minutes later, a short man with a gray beard and narrow glasses came down the stairs, holding a clipboard. "Ethan Cole, right? The restorer." "That's me." "I hear you've taken a liking to one of our orphans," the curator said with a faint smile. "I need to know where that painting came from." Halden raised an eyebrow. "I told my assistant we don't have a clear record. But something. Anything. Who brought it in? When?" Halden motioned for him to follow, and they stepped into the back office. He rummaged through a cabinet and pulled out an old file marked Unclassified Works 2019. "Most of these came from estate donations," he explained. "Sometimes families clean out old homes and donate stacks of artwork. We accept them, archive them if we can. But some have no tags, no information, just canvases dropped off at the door." He flipped through papers, then paused. "This might be it. Says an anonymous donor left 15 pieces in early spring 5 years ago. No contact info. The drop-off was recorded by a night staffer who quit shortly after. No follow-up. Can I see the list?" Halden handed it over. Then scanned quickly. 13 landscapes, 1 abstract. One item described simply as portrait, woman, oil, and signed. "Do you still have the other pieces?" Halden nodded. "In the basement archive." "You think they're connected?" "I think I need to find out." The archive room was cold and smelled of stone and mildew. Metal shelves lined the walls, stacked with forgotten frames and dusty crates. Halden helped Ethan locate the paintings from the donation batch. Most were simple, coastal scenes, impressionist waves, dull sunsets. But one landscape stopped him. Near the edge of a dark field under a stormy sky stood a woman in a red dress, small, distant, but unmistakable. It was her. Ethan stepped closer. The details were hazy, but the posture, the shape, it was the same woman. "She's in this one too," he whispered. Halden peered over his shoulder. "That's strange. I never noticed her before." Ethan gently flipped the frame. No signature again, but another faint mark in the wood. The same symbol, burned lightly into the back. His grandfather's mark. "What is this?" Halden asked, now curious. "I think these were painted by someone who's supposed to be gone." Halden looked at him, confused. Ethan didn't explain further. He took photos of all the pieces and returned home, his mind racing. That night, exhausted, Ethan finally fell asleep in the chair near the fireplace, the painting still on the easel beside him. And then, the dream. He stood in a field of golden grass, the wind moving around him like breath. The sky was a soft gray, pulsing with strange light. In the distance, a figure approached, a woman in a flowing dress. She stopped 10 feet from him. It was her. Not the painting. Not an image. Her. Her skin glowed faintly, her hair catching the wind in slow motion. She didn't speak, but her eyes, they said everything. She knew him. She walked closer, her hand rising slowly. She touched his face, and the warmth of her palm sent a jolt through his spine. "You found me," she whispered. He couldn't speak. His mouth moved, but no words came out. She leaned forward, her lips almost brushing his ear. "Find the light before it fades." Suddenly the ground beneath them cracked, and a sound like shattered glass and thunder filled the air. He tried to hold on to her, but she slipped through his fingers like mist. He woke up gasping, sweat on his forehead, the room bathed in the early morning light. Painting was still there. But something had changed. Her expression. It was subtle, the barest shift of her eyes. But he knew. She had changed. And somehow she had been in his dream. Not just imagined. Not just fantasy. She was trying to reach him. Ethan sat in front of the painting for hours that day, not even touching his tools. He scrolled through old emails, called an archivist friend who owed him a favor, and searched for any leads connected to his grandfather, old colleagues, collectors, apprentices. Most were gone. But one name came up again and again. Dorian Vell. A wealthy art dealer with a strange reputation, eccentric, private, and known for acquiring rare, unsigned works. According to one blog post from years ago, he had once made a comment during a gallery event. "Some muses aren't born. They're found." Post said he disappeared from public view not long after Martin Cole vanished. Ethan saved the page and sat back. What was the connection? Why was his grandfather seeing this woman before he disappeared? Why was he seeing her now? He turned to the painting again. "Who are you?" he asked. This time her silence didn't feel empty. Felt like an answer was near, just beneath the surface. Town's annual art fair was nothing spectacular, but Ethan Cole had never missed one. He usually came to study technique, to admire local talent, to see if any pieces needed restoring. This year, though, he came searching for a face. Painting still haunted his studio, her gray eyes full of secrets, her delicate features pressed into his memory. After the dream, she hadn't left his thoughts for even a moment. And the symbol, his grandfather's mark, only made everything more confusing. He hoped someone at the fair might recognize the painting, the woman, the style. Anything. The booths lined the boardwalk, filled with sculptures, paintings, photography, and handmade jewelry. Colorful canopies flapped in the breeze. The salty scent of the sea mixed with roasted almonds and fresh canvas. Families wandered, couples laughed. But Ethan moved with a purpose, scanning every portrait, every vendor's face, every piece of art. Nothing. Nothing. More landscapes. More abstracts. A few were beautiful. None mattered. Then he saw her. First, he thought his mind was playing tricks. Maybe the heat. Maybe the lack of sleep. But no, she was real. Flesh and blood. Standing near the corner booth, flipping through a stack of prints, her dark hair tumbling over one shoulder. She looked exactly like the woman in the painting. Same eyes. Same bone structure. Same air of quiet sadness. He froze. His breath caught. It was her. He walked toward her before he even realized what he was doing. Every step felt like thunder. His heart pounded in his chest. She turned just as he reached her, and their eyes met. She startled, blinking quickly as if she felt the connection too. But then her face changed. Guarded. Alert. "I'm sorry," Ethan said quickly, stopping short. "This is going to sound strange. Really strange. But I know you." She frowned slightly. "I don't think so. No, not from here. Not from this." He glanced down, suddenly self-conscious. "I saw your face in a painting." Her lips parted just a little. Not surprised, alarmed. "What?" "It was in a gallery. Bayview. It's unsigned. No name." "But you," he shook his head. "You look exactly like her. I mean it. The woman in the painting. She stepped back a little. That's not possible. It's true. I'm a restorer. I brought it home. I've been trying to find out who painted it, why you're in it, or someone who looks like you. I know this sounds insane, but she looked around quickly, her eyes scanning the crowd. I'm sorry, she said. I have to go. Wait, please, Ethan said, reaching out instinctively but stopping himself. I just want to understand. She hesitated for a second. Her eyes softened just a touch. Then she whispered, You shouldn't be asking about that painting. And she turned and walked away. Finn stood there, stunned. People brushed past him, but he didn't move. His mind spun in every direction at once. She was real. She knew the painting. And she was scared. He finally snapped out of it and started following her through the crowd, keeping his distance. She walked quickly, weaving through the booths, down the boardwalk, past the food trucks. He tried to catch up, but by the time he rounded the corner of the alley behind the coffee shop, she was gone. Gone. Just like that. He stood in the empty alleyway, breathing hard. The sounds of the fair grew distant behind him. He leaned against the wall, confused, overwhelmed. Who was she? And why did she say he shouldn't be asking? That night, Ethan returned to the studio and stared at the painting for hours. Her face, her eyes, her mystery. He tried to replay everything she'd said, every movement, every glance. She had looked afraid. But not of him. Of what? He remembered the name tag on her booth, L. Marlowe Mixed Media. He searched online for 2 hours before finally finding a local artist's website. Farce. No photos of herself. Just a few collages, an abstract series, and one contact email. L. Marlowe. No social media. No public bio. No exhibitions beyond small coastal events. He typed a message, then stared at the blinking cursor for a long time. Lila, I know I scared you today. I'm sorry. I just need answers. Please. I think this painting is connected to someone I lost. If you know anything, I'd like to talk. No pressure. No demands. Just honesty. Thin. He didn't send it. He deleted it. Then wrote again. I saw you today. You know something about the painting. I'm not here to hurt you. I just want the truth. Please. Who are you? That time he sent it. Minutes passed. Then hours. No reply. At midnight, exhausted, he finally turned off the light and lay on the couch, the fire cracking low. He didn't expect to sleep. But again she came to him in his dream. This time they stood on a train platform, empty except for the two of them. Wind blew through the station, old papers flying across the floor. Lila stood a few feet away, her arms crossed, her hair fluttering. Why did you follow me? She asked, not angry, sad. I needed to see you. You're real. Her eyes glistened. More real than you know. What does that mean? Why are you in that painting? She looked at him for a long moment, then whispered, Because I never left it. Train whistle blew. The station lights flickered. And just before she turned to go, she said something he could barely hear. He tried to save me, then shot awake, gasping. He stared into the dark, heart pounding, the dream fresh like it had just happened. He tried to save me. Who was he? His grandfather? He sat up and walked to the easel. Painting was still there, unchanged. But it felt different now, like it was waiting. He whispered her name, the one from the booth, just to hear it aloud. Lila. It fit her. Fit everything. He couldn't let her go. Not now. The next morning, Ethan returned to the fairgrounds. They were half taken down, tents collapsing, booths packed, workers carrying crates and ladders. He found the spot where her booth had been. Empty. He asked one of the nearby vendors, a woman selling glass wind chimes. Al Marlowe, she said. Yeah, sweet girl. Quiet. Sold some strange collages. Left early. Packed up before sundown. Didn't say much. Do you know where she went? The woman shrugged. Sorry. Ethan walked back to his truck, frustration building. He'd found her. And lost her. Again. But he wasn't going to stop. Back in his studio, he returned to the sketchbook. His grandfather had drawn her over and over. She had appeared to Martin too, and now to Ethan. He remembered Martin's last painting, one never finished. It had been taken by the family after his disappearance and placed in storage. Ethan hadn't seen it in over a decade. He made a call to his cousin in Portland who had kept some of Martin's belongings. After explaining, he asked, Do you still have the last canvas? The one he was working on? There was a pause. Yeah, his cousin said slowly. It's weird. No one could ever figure it out. But yeah, I'll ship it. Ethan thanked him and hung up. He turned back to the woman in the painting. Your name is Lila, he said softly. And I'm not done with you yet. The sea mist curled around the cliffs like fingers clinging to secrets. The address came from a private vendor's registry, an old contact Ethan still had from his restoration work. The name was vague: L. Marlowe, Cottage 4, Driftwood Bay. Ethan parked his truck on the narrow gravel road and stared at the weathered house in the distance. Stood alone at the edge of a wind-swept bluff, wrapped in overgrown ivy and silence. Didn't look abandoned, just hidden. He hesitated before knocking. But then the door opened before he could raise his hand. Lila stood in the doorway, her expression unreadable. Wind tugged at her sweater, her hair wild from the salt air. You found me, she said softly. I had to. She didn't answer. After a long pause, she stepped aside and let him in. The inside of the cottage was small but warm. Books stacked everywhere. Sketch pads and broken pencils on the table. A half-finished collage on the wall, fragments of sea glass, torn letters, old photographs. I shouldn't have run from the fair, she said after a moment, pouring him tea without asking. I didn't expect anyone to recognize me. I didn't recognize you, Ethan said gently. I recognized your face. From the painting. Her eyes dropped. Her hands trembled as she placed the mug in front of him. I thought that painting was gone, she whispered. So you do know it? Lila nodded slowly. I posed for it. Years ago. Ethan's heart skipped. Who painted it? She sat across from him, her fingers tangled in the hem of her sleeve. A man I loved. A long time ago. He said he wanted to capture something in me no one else could see. But after the portrait was done, he changed. He became obsessed. With dreams. With symbols. He started painting things that didn't make sense. Talking about visions. Said he was seeing things before they happened. Ethan's breath caught. The story was too familiar. He left one day, she continued, her voice thin. Didn't say goodbye. Just vanished. No police report. No explanation. I tried to forget. But the painting, it resurfaced. And then the letters started. Letters? Ethan asked. Lila nodded, rising from her seat. She walked into the other room and returned with a small tin box. She opened it and pulled out several envelopes, all aged, yellowed, and sealed with a strange wax symbol, a double circle bisected by a line. Ethan stared. That mark? You've seen it. It was on the painting. And in my grandfather's old sketchbook. Lila froze. Your grandfather? Martin Cole, Ethan said. He disappeared 15 years ago. He was a painter too. The mug in her hand slipped, shattering on the wooden floor. She didn't flinch. For a long moment, she just stood there, her eyes wide and filled with something more than surprise. "No," she whispered. "No, it can't be." Ethan stood slowly. "Lila was the man who painted you. Martin Cole." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Then she turned away, walking to the window, arms folded tightly across her chest. "I didn't know his real name," she said at last. "He told me to call him Mem. Said names were too heavy. He said he wanted to leave everything behind. I thought he was just being poetic." Finn felt the room tilt. His grandfather hadn't just painted her. He had loved her. Lila turned back, tears brimming. "I didn't want you to know." "Why?" "Because I left him." The words hung in the air. "I was scared," she said. The things he said, the visions, the dreams, they were beautiful but strange. He told me I was a muse from somewhere else. That I came to him through time. That he had seen me before I was born. I didn't believe him. I thought he was losing his mind. And when he vanished, I blamed myself." Ethan was quiet, trying to steady his thoughts. "All this time," he murmured, "you've been hiding." "Not just hiding," she said. "Surviving." She reached into the tin box again and handed him a single page, a note scribbled in hurried writing. "They're watching the painting. It wasn't just art. It's a door. And someone wants it closed." Ethan's hand shook. "Who's they?" "I don't know. But I've felt eyes on me ever since the gallery showed it. I moved here because it's quiet. But every few months someone follows. I see the same faces in different towns. I stopped trusting people." He looked at her, truly looked, and saw how tired she was. Not just from fear, but from being alone for too long. "I'm not one of them, Lila," he said gently. "I didn't come to expose you. I just wanted to understand." Her eyes met his. For the first time, the wall between them cracked. "I know." They sat together on the small sofa, the rain beginning to tap at the window. "Did you love him?" Ethan asked softly. Lila smiled, faint and sad. "He was the only man who ever painted me like I was alive. Not beautiful, real. Like I mattered beyond the canvas. But when he started seeing things, I didn't know how to follow him into that world. And now," she reached for his hand, her touch hesitant, warm. "Now I wonder if I should have." Their fingers intertwined, quiet and natural. "I see him in you," she whispered. "The way you look at the painting. The way you came here." Finn swallowed hard. His mind still raced, but something deeper had taken hold, a warmth he hadn't felt in years. "I don't know what's real anymore," he said. "You found me. That's real." They sat in silence, the sea howling outside. Past stretched between them, heavy with loss. But something new had begun, not just understanding, but a bond born of shared grief, mystery, and something neither of them could name yet. Still, Ethan could feel she was holding something back. A shadow in her voice. A secret still buried. And Lila, she knew that when the truth came out, the full truth, it would change everything. Ethan drove inland for hours, through winding back roads and forgotten towns, until he reached the place where his grandfather once lived, a stone cottage hidden behind tall trees and thick vines. The mailbox still read M. Cole in peeling paint. He hadn't been here in over a decade. Keys still worked. The door creaked open and stale air poured out, dust, age, and something else he couldn't name. The main room was silent, the furniture covered in white sheets. Sunlight filtered through the grime on the windows. He wasn't here to mourn. He was here to search. In the back hallway, he found the door his grandfather always kept locked. It had once been Ethan's greatest curiosity as a child, off-limits, full of mystery. Now it stood slightly ajar. Ethan pushed it open and stepped inside. The studio. Time had stopped here. Jars of dried paint lined the walls. Sketches were pinned everywhere, dozens of charcoal drawings, many unfinished. Some had yellowed with time. A broken easel stood near the center. Cobwebs laced the corners. And everywhere, her face. Lila. Drawn from every angle. In different clothes. Sometimes smiling. Sometimes sad. Sometimes afraid. Finn moved slowly, taking it all in. Then he found a box beneath the old drafting table. Inside were dozens of letters and 2 leather-bound journals. He sat on the floor and began reading. June 3rd. She came again in the dream. But it wasn't just a dream. I saw her before she arrived. Every line, every freckle. She stood in the gallery before I ever painted her. I don't understand how. July 10th. Lila is more than a muse. She's a key. Painting is the lock. But someone's watching. I feel them closer now. Especially when I paint. The air turns cold. The shadows shift. August 2nd. Dorian Vell came again. Offered me money. Said he collects visions, people who step through the canvas. I told him to leave. He smiled like he already knew I wouldn't say no forever. Finn's heart pounded. Dorian Vell. The name jumped off the page like a curse. He remembered hearing it once in a hushed conversation. A powerful collector, rich and dangerous, with a reputation for buying unbuyable art. Stories about him felt more like myths. Men who'd sold to him disappeared. Galleries went silent. And now he was part of this story. Finn turned the page. The handwriting was more frantic now. August 17th. They want Lila. Not the art, her. She doesn't believe me. I told her to go. To vanish. I told her the painting is cursed. But I'm lying. I'm the one who cursed it, with love, with obsession, with whatever gift this is. I've locked something inside it. Maybe even myself. September 2nd. I hear them at night. I'm leaving this behind. If she finds it, tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I loved her enough to disappear. The journal ended there. Ethan sat in silence, the weight of it all pressing down. His grandfather hadn't just vanished. He'd hidden himself. For her. For Lila. And Dorian Vell, whoever he truly was, hadn't stopped looking. As Ethan rose, something caught his eye behind a torn curtain. Covered canvas. Larger than the rest. Wrapped in dust cloth, sealed with nails along the edges. He dragged it into the light and slowly pulled the covering free. His breath left his lungs. It was another portrait of Lila, but not like the one in the gallery. This one was unfinished. Her face was there, but the background wasn't sea or sky, it was fire. Cracked walls. Shattered glass. Her eyes were filled with tears, her mouth open in a silent scream. And something or someone loomed behind her in shadow. The detail was faint, but Ethan saw the outline of a man. Hands reaching. A smile cruel and knowing. Beneath it, a single phrase was scrawled in pencil. He who captures the muse controls the vision. Finn staggered back. Dorian hadn't wanted the painting. He wanted control over Lila. That night, back at the cottage, Lila lit candles against the storm brewing outside. The sky flashed with distant lightning. She sat curled on the couch, legs folded beneath her. Ethan laid the journal gently on the table between them. I found his studio, he said quietly. And the journals. The sketches. Everything. She looked down at the worn cover. Her fingers brushed the pages like they were too delicate to touch. I was afraid of what he might have written, she admitted. He loved you, Ethan said. But he also feared for you. Lila nodded slowly. He warned me once. Said there were people who could trap a soul inside a painting. That some collectors don't just collect art, they collect presence. A piece of you stays behind. She looked up at Ethan. I didn't believe him. I thought he was losing his mind. But then I started seeing the same man over and over. Different cities, different clothes, same smile. Watching me, always just close enough to feel. Dorian. She flinched at the name. I think he found the painting first, Ethan continued. And now he's trying to find the key to unlocking whatever your connection is to it. Lila looked away, silent. Then, softly, I've spent so long hiding. Every time I felt safe, something shifted. A shadow in the window. A message with no return address. I stopped getting close to anyone. Finn's heart ached. He reached out slowly and took her hand. I don't want to lose you too, he said. I don't want to run anymore, she whispered. But I'm scared. Every time I care about someone, they disappear. He squeezed her hand gently. I'm not going anywhere. She looked into his eyes. With you, it feels different. But that only makes it harder. Because if I lose this, she gestured between them, her voice breaking, I don't know if I'll survive it. You won't lose it, Ethan said. Their lips met, soft, hesitant, but full of the truth neither of them could deny anymore. Kiss was tender, not rushed, built on everything that had been unsaid. They held each other in the candlelight, wrapped in warmth while the storm rattled the windows outside. But neither of them saw the shadow move past the glass. Nor the black car parked half a mile down the road. Past was no longer behind them. It was catching up. Coastal town had never felt dangerous before. But when Ethan saw the black luxury car parked outside the art gallery, every nerve in his body stiffened. The man standing near it was tall, dressed in a charcoal gray coat and gloves too elegant for the weather. His silver hair was perfectly combed, his posture still as stone. He didn't browse the gallery windows like a customer. He stared straight ahead like he was waiting. Finn's heart dropped. He didn't need a name tag. That was Dorian Vell. He stepped inside the gallery like it belonged to him. The bell above the door gave a cheerful ring, but the air shifted, cold, heavy, expectant. The gallery owner, Susan, looked up from her desk and froze. Can I help you? She asked, her voice uncertain. Dorian offered a thin smile. Yes. I've come to reclaim a piece from your private room. A portrait. And signed. Of a woman with sea glass eyes. Susan blinked. That's not for sale. I'm not here to buy it, Dorian replied. It belongs to me. Finn stepped forward from the back room, fists clenched. It doesn't belong to you. Dorian turned, his gaze slow and precise, landing on Ethan like a hawk spotting prey. You must be Martin Cole's grandson, the restorer. Finn didn't speak. Dorian tilted his head. You've inherited the gift, then. Or the curse. Whichever he decided it was in the end. You were the one chasing him, Ethan said. You drove him underground. I offered him immortality, Dorian replied smoothly. He refused. He wasted her. Lila is not an object. Isn't she? Dorian said, almost amused. Do you even know what she is? Finn stepped closer. She's a woman. A survivor. And you're not going near her. Dorian's smile faded. You think this is about romance? This is history. Lila is more than a woman. She's a muse. But not just any muse, she doesn't just inspire art. She animates it. Without her, your grandfather's painting is beautiful. With her, it breathes, dreams, sings. He leaned in. She brings them to life. Finn felt the room spin. You're insane. Am I? Dorian whispered. You've seen it, haven't you? You dream of her. You feel her pull. Even you don't know what she's capable of. She's not yours. Dorian's voice turned cold. Everything beautiful has a price. And I always pay mine. He turned to Susan, who shrank behind her desk. I will be back tonight. Have the painting ready, or I'll have the law reclaim it for me." He left without another word. Ethan stood frozen. That night, the wind howled louder than usual. Rain tapped on the cottage roof like nervous fingers. Lila sat by the window, watching shadows move across the distant cliffs. "He's here, isn't he?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "He wants the painting. And you." She hugged her knees. "He always said I was special. That I lit something up in him. First it felt like love, but then it felt like a trap. He said you brought art to life." She looked at him, eyes wide. "You felt it too, didn't you? When you looked at that painting." "Yes," Ethan admitted. "But that doesn't mean you belong to it." Lila stood, pacing now, nervous energy in every movement. "I don't know why I affect paintings the way I do. Martin called it the echo. Said some people leave more than memories behind. He thought I was born with something extra. I just thought he was being romantic." Finn touched her arm gently. "Maybe you are extraordinary, but that doesn't mean you're his, or mine, or anyone's." Her eyes softened. "That's why I trust you." Suddenly, Ethan remembered what Dorian said. "I'll be back tonight." "We need to move the painting," he said quickly. "Now." They raced back to the gallery just before midnight. Susan had already locked up, but Ethan had a spare key. Inside, the painting sat where it always had, quiet, mysterious, full of invisible weight. Lila walked up to it slowly. "I hated this painting for years," she whispered. "I thought it trapped part of me I'd never get back." Ethan wrapped the canvas in thick fabric, securing it under his arm. "We'll hide it. Somewhere even he can't find it." But as they turned to leave, the front door exploded open. Dorian entered, two men in dark suits behind him. "Put it down," he ordered. Ethan didn't move. Dorian stepped forward. "You don't understand what you're holding. That portrait is the last of its kind. Every other canvas has faded. She's the only one who still shines." "She's not yours," Ethan shouted. Dorian's eyes darkened. "Then I'll take her." He lunged, but Lila stepped between them. "No," she said, voice firm. "You don't own me. You never did. You think love protects you?" Dorian hissed. "Love is just another way to bind something to you." "No," she said. "Fear is. And I'm not afraid anymore." She turned to Ethan. "Give me the painting." "What?" "Trust me." Reluctantly, he handed it over. Lila held the wrapped canvas and stepped into the center of the gallery. "You wanted the muse," she said to Dorian. "Then watch what a real muse does." She ripped the cloth from the painting and stared into it. The air shifted. Lights flickered. A low hum like distant thunder began to build. Colors on the canvas seemed to ripple. Lila's image shimmered, and then, for a heartbeat, blinked. Dorian stepped back. "What are you doing?" "I'm setting it free." She pressed her palm against the painted version of herself and whispered something only Ethan could hear. "Goodbye." Painting cracked down the center. A soft wind rushed through the gallery. The lights burst. And then silence. When the smoke cleared, the painting lay flat on the ground, blank. Empty. The image of Lila was gone. Dorian fell to his knees, trembling. "No, no, what have you done?" "You were never in love with me," she said. "You were in love with what I gave you." Two men behind Dorian backed away, stunned. Ethan stepped forward, taking Lila's hand. "It's over." "No," Dorian whispered. "This was everything. My collection, my life." He collapsed, broken. Later, the police would arrive, summoned by Susan, who had watched it all unfold. Investigators would uncover hidden evidence in Dorian's hotel room. Photos, stolen art, forged records, names of other missing muses from around the world. The man who tried to own beauty was exposed at last. Back at the cottage, Lila stood in front of the empty fireplace. Ethan joined her, holding 2 mugs of tea. "Where did she go?" he asked gently. "The part of me that was trapped," Lila said. "She's free now." "And the part of you that's here?" She looked up, smiling softly. "She's finally ready to live." The morning after Dorian was taken away, the town felt different, like a storm had passed and left everything washed clean. Ethan stood at the edge of the sea cliffs, the wind pulling gently at his coat. In one hand, he held the old leather-bound journal, his grandfather's. In the other, he held Lila's hand. The ocean roared below, endless and calm. Lila's eyes were fixed on the spot where the grass met the stone, where a wooden easel had once stood, a canvas perched upon it like a secret ready to be told. "This is where he painted me," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "You remember it clearly?" "Every brushstroke. Every pause. He used to say light here was different, like it listened." She knelt down, brushing her fingers over the rocks. Then she turned to him. "There's something I need to tell you," she said, her voice steady but quiet. "Your grandfather didn't die." Ethan's breath caught. Lila opened the journal and handed it to him, flipping to the last few pages, pages that hadn't been there before. Pages tucked behind a piece of canvas that had once lined the back cover. Ethan read the words slowly, his eyes widening. "If someone is reading this, I pray it's Ethan. Or someone who loves her like I did. Truth is too dangerous to leave exposed. Dorian wanted to own beauty, but beauty doesn't belong to anyone. Chooses. It lives. I had to disappear so she could be free. If you found this, then maybe it means the painting fulfilled its purpose. Maybe it means the muse has chosen again. And if she has, protect her. Love her. And let her be more than a painting on a wall." Ethan lowered the journal slowly. The ocean blurred behind tears he hadn't expected. "He knew we'd meet," he whispered. Lila nodded, tears in her own eyes. "He always believed we were part of the same story. That one day you'd come looking not just for answers but for me." They sat in silence for a while, letting the wind carry away the weight of everything they'd been through. The lies, the fear, the loneliness. And then Ethan stood. "I brought something," he said, reaching into a canvas bag. Carefully, he pulled out the painting, the original now blank. Colors had faded after Lila's last touch, but the canvas still held its frame, its history, its soul. He placed it on the ground. Picked up a small travel box of oils and brushes. And a jar of turpentine. "What are you doing?" Lila asked, stepping beside him. "I'm going to finish it," he said. "Not with her. With you. The way you are now. Real. Alive. Unafraid." Lila hesitated. "Are you sure?" Ethan smiled. "I've never been more sure of anything." She sat in the grass, folding her legs under her as she had done all those years ago. This time, no secrets hung between them. No one was watching. No one was chasing. There was only wind, light, and love. Ethan mixed colors slowly, carefully, warm browns, soft blues, hints of silver in the hair and green in the eyes. His brush moved like it had done this before, in another life. As if his grandfather's hand moved through his. Lila watched him with a quiet smile. "You're just like him," she whispered. Ethan paused. "No," he said. "I'm just like me. But I think he'd be proud." The sun was beginning to fall when he added the final detail, a soft line of light across her cheek, catching her smile. And then, on the lower corner of the canvas, he signed it. Not with just his name. He painted 2 sets of initials side by side. MC and EC. Martin Cole. Ethan Cole. Past and present. Grandfather and grandson. 2 artists bound by love for the same woman, but in very different ways. Lila stood and looked at the painting. "It's beautiful," she said. He turned to her. So are you. They wrapped the painting gently, but this time they didn't carry it back to be hidden or displayed. They left it behind, tucked under a stone overhang by the cliff's edge, not to be sold or stolen, but to remain where it belonged. Let the sea keep it. Let the light remember it. Later, as they walked back to the cottage hand in hand, the sky above them turned golden with the setting sun. Lila leaned into Ethan's shoulder. You know, she said, I spent so many years afraid of being seen. Like if someone looked too closely, they'd find all the broken parts. Ethan kissed her hair. I see you. All of you. And you're not broken. She smiled. I think. I believe you. They stopped at the garden gate, the scent of lavender and salt in the air. What now? She asked. Ethan looked at her. We paint something new, he said. Together. And they did. Not just on canvas, but in life. With every quiet morning and every hand held. Every laugh that echoed through the house. Every color they dared to use. Every truth they no longer ran from. No longer haunted by the past. No longer trapped in the frame of someone else's story. They were writing, painting, something entirely their own. And this time it was signed not just in oil but in time.